everybody, it's Rhonda here from Nelson's Soapery. Today we are going to be doing a bit of a candle class. So I need to make some candles desperately. So I'm going to show you how I actually measure up what wick I need in my jar, how I put them all in the jar, and so on. Now we're going to be using coconut soy wax. That is the wax that I use, but even if you use soy or 464, this will all relate to you anyway. And I will actually, in the description, I'm going to put down the measurements and the temperatures and everything for 464, as well as the coconut soy that I am using, so that it helps absolutely everyone. So I have these gorgeous jars. So these will hold 300 grams or 300 mils. It's about the same in these beautiful jars. They're just clear. I've decided to go with some clear ones because lots of the white ones that you can get, they are sprayed on the outside, so then they actually are terrible with leaving scratches. So I really don't love that at all. And like I said, I'm going to show you in this one here how we actually measure up the jar to get the right wick and so on. So I hope this is going to be a really good tutorial to really show you how to actually make a candle professionally, how to measure it up. And of course, there is a thing that is dreaded by anyone making candles called testing. Yes, you do need to test. That is a part of making a candle. I know no one loves it, including me. But anyway, so today what I've done is I've already designed my labels. So I'll show you here. The labels are here. And I'm going to obviously need to cut each one of these, and they're going to go on the side of these jars. So when you're doing your labels, you can have a square, you can have it wrapping around the jar, you can have it going long ways. So we're going to do a modern one, which is a long ways candle. But let's pop the camera down. We're going to measure up to put the wick in, and I'll show you exactly what I'm doing. Now, to start with our jar, the first thing we do, obviously, we have the jar. I also have a cloth here. I've sprayed a little bit of isopropyl, and we are just going to wipe the jar out, because the jars will have like a really, dusty, or can have some unsightly marks. So this way we are making it beautiful. And then we're going to pop that down, let it air out a tiny bit. In the meantime, while that's doing that, we are going to work out some wicks, some stickers. I also have something to hold it in place, but you can use a peg if you don't have those. Now we need a ruler to get this bit happening. So the reason we need the ruler is if you go on to most candle supplying websites, what they actually do is they will say the candle soap, let's pretend it's a 7.5 ACS, then what they will actually do on that is they will give you a measurement that they think it could possibly work with. And when we say a measurement, it's usually from the inner part of your candle jar to this part of the candle jar. So if they say this is going to cover, say, 10 centimeters, it means that your jar really should be around the 10 centimeters. Obviously this one is not. So we will measure this one up, and this jar says it's 7.5 across in centimeters. Now, also, these are the wicks we're going to use. I've already done all of this. So these are a 7.5 from Aussie Candles. And they have said on their jar that these particular wicks are suitable for a jar that is 7 centimeters to 8 centimeters across, which would be this one. So always the first thing you do is you're going to test your jars. Now, I have used these jars before, so I do know this wick does actually work. But if you don't know about that, definitely you need to go and double check everything. Now, you also need some stickers. I know some people glue theirs to the bottom. I don't suggest the glue. Some of them are toxic, so you definitely need to check that. But these ones are actually made for candles. I get these from Pure Candle Supplies. They are the best ones that I found to date because they do not come off the bottom. They actually stick. Some of them are not very good and they won't stick. So now basically all I'm going to do, which I always do, is I just, you can see in the bottom of this jar it has a circle. That will allow me to be able to pop this in the middle. I'm just going to use a little ruler to push it down a little bit, a tiny bit, so you can see it's in there. And now we do have these clips. Now when I first started using these, I had them upside down, I had them that way. They're meant to be used that way, but it really doesn't matter. It's like a bow tie clip. And you can see that it has 3 holes. Now I know you might look at this and go, oh, these are close together. The reason is because if you do a candle that has 2 wicks, you're meant to use the 2 outer ones, and if you use a candle that has 1 wick, you just use this middle one, and it has a slit in it. So basically once we pull it in, we're going to move the slit across, which I will show you. So let's just pop it in here, as you can see, and you can see it's just going to sit on here because it has little ridges for different sizes. And all we're going to do is literally just pull this across, and once we've got it across in that little slit, which I didn't pull it hard enough, sometimes it's really hard to pull them across if your wick is bigger, but that's fine. And then we're just going to literally do that, so then we can just pour straight in, and this should be centered, and you can see it's on the second ridge on both sides, so make sure the ridge is on both sides. So if you can see the top of that, see how it has like little ridges? If you have one on the first ridge and then this one was on the third, it would mean that it's not centered. And you can see how centered that is. It's very centered. And if you have a look, it doesn't move that much, you know. They'll move a tiny bit, but not a lot. So anyway, we have got that ready, don't we? So next we need to go over and we will organize our wax. So let's go over to the other side. I will put the wax into my melter, so you can put it in all different melters. And I'm going to show you a bit of a trick so you don't make a mess on a candle later on. So I will show you that one too. But anyway, like I said, let's go over and we are going to organize all of the wax. Now let's go and organize the wax. So here, I haven't turned it on yet, so that's why I can touch it. This is my little slow cooker, which is a crock pot, and all we're going to do is turn the dial on number 1, and that means it's just on slow, and then we're just going to put in the wax that we need. Now if you're going to make just one candle, obviously you need to measure up how much wax you need. So if you're making a 300 gram candle like this one, you might decide that you want to use 10% fragrance. So then it would mean in a 300 gram candle, you're going to put 30 grams of your fragrance. So that would leave 270 grams left of wax. But sometimes that will not fill the jar. So I always suggest when you're weighing up the wax, if you need 270, add 10% on. So, you know, we'll say 270 grams plus 10%. So 10% of that is, what's that? I've got to work it out now, 30. So, you know, usually I just add another 20 or 30 grams. I mean, it doesn't matter, but, you know, I always just add a little bit more because it's better to have more than less. But what I do, honestly, is I just fill this up because you can melt it down if you don't. And then what I do is just take what I need out and put it into a jug for whatever candle I'm making, and then you can reuse the wax that's in that because it has no fragrance. We're just going to keep melting it down. So you can definitely do that. It's what I do all the time. So like I said, we're just going to put a little bit of wax in that. We'll put a few scoops in. So let's go and I will fill this up. So now that the wax is all melting down, what we're going to do is I am literally going to cut these labels. Now, usually I would actually pop these through, honestly, on the Cricut, because I've actually printed these out through the Cricut program so that I know they are the same size that I actually really honestly want. So all I'm going to do is just cut these by hand at the moment. Usually I'd say don't do that, you know, do them the way you want, and you know, like get them cut professionally, but this is just to show you on my video, so that's how you go. And if you don't have a Cricut machine, it's more than fine to cut these by hand. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't, because you definitely can. I have just printed these, so if you can see that, it's on you know, like a clear paper. So all I'm going to do is take that off, literally pop this on the jar. So let's just have a look. And, you know, you want to leave about 1/2 centimetre or something at the top, because if you do not leave that, what's actually going to happen is the lid won't go on it. Now, you will not see this very well until the wax is in it. So if you can see that it's clear, but obviously if I had something white in it, you would definitely see it. So if I pop that behind it, you can definitely see the label. And of course it's going to have white wax in it, so we're going to see the label. So we've done all of that, and you can see that there's a gap at the bottom. So just don't bring the labels too close to the bottom, or else they'll ripple with the roundness of jars, and most jars do have some sort of a round bottom on them. And I have something a bit exciting to show you here as well. My beautiful daughter Emily has actually gone and she has purchased a very expensive machine. It is actually an etching machine. So what it does is it actually etches labels into the tins of candles and things like that. You can etch so many products as well, wood, anything. But she actually did me hundreds of these. So these are basically the lids. Don't they look amazing? So she's popped my logo, so every single lid will go on top of my candles and it will have the logo on. Now, if anyone's in Australia or Melbourne and definitely wants these done, she does do them like at quite a good cheap price. She doesn't charge you for a setup fee or anything like that. So if anyone wants them done, just contact me through here and I will pass your details over to Emily and she'll contact you. But yeah, so you can do them on wood if you use wood lids. You can do them on any tin lids, anything. So, but if I show you nice and close, doesn't that look amazing? And I just think it really adds to that absolutely professional look, which is really, really good. So I think she charges roughly $1.20 a lid, but I'm sure if you did lots and lots of them, you might be able to strike a deal with her or something. But anyway, that's for that. So I thought I would just show you all of that. And they really, you know, I did them because I wasn't 100% sure, but seriously, once I did them, oh, I loved them. So the only thing she needs for that is an SVG file, but you can even design your logo on Canva and just convert it to an SVG on Canva. It's really easy, very, very easy. But I am going to bring another video out about these, a longer video. I did do a short, so you can go and have a look at my short, which will show you, which is on YouTube, and it will show you all about these. But I will bring out a really long one about doing these in wood and whatever else, so that everyone can see. But anyway, like I said, our wax is on the go at the moment, isn't it? So we're going to wait for that. We've done that. We have done all the wicking. We've prepped everything else that we want. We will just organize our fragrance in a minute, and then we will go from there. But everything else is done. So now it is a waiting game, my friends. So I will bring you back when we're ready and the wax is at the right temperature. All right, my friends, we are definitely back, and here I do have my beautiful wax. So it is at the right temperature. I have actually just checked it. So now at the moment we are using, remember, the coconut soy. So the coconut soy is a little bit different to a lot because it gets poured at a very, very low temperature. So usually you're going to add your fragrances at around the 50 degrees, and this is 51 degrees, so that's fine. And I've torn out my scale to 0. So now for this particular amount that I'm going to be doing, I'm actually going to be adding about 28 grams. So, you know, you can go up to 10 usually. So you can go up to 10%. This, I'm going to do this around 9%. We'll just do this one as a bit of a tester because this is a new bottle. So I do want to just double check. And, you know, always just sort of keep an eye on, you know, what you're using and what you're not and so on. And then I'm just going to give it a bit of a stir. Usually you want to stir this for a few minutes, usually 1 to 2 minutes is fine. Don't feel like, you know, you have to go and like vigorously stir, because you don't. You can see that I'm just like stirring around the edge and then through the middle, just to make sure, you know, that it's all combined, because basically when you put fragrance in, it needs to actually grab hold onto the tiny little molecules that are within, you know, your soy wax, because if it doesn't, that's when it separates. And once it solidifies and gets hard, the candle's hard, you'll see the oil come to the top. Usually that means you've either, one, you've added too much oil, or 2, you haven't mixed it properly and it has not had time to combine. So basically that is the whole reason, you know, that we're doing this. And that's the reason for temperatures. I mean, of course, you know, you don't want it to look messy and dirty and, you know, sort of uneven on the top. You know, if you pour too hot, you're going to get that. That's just a part of making candles. And, you know, look, sometimes you might have done everything right and it just doesn't look perfect. You know, you just got to remember, this is, you know, candles are tricky. I mean, it really is a bit of a science, you know, like we're dealing with molecules, temperatures, you know, the way that you actually do things, you know, making sure you do it right the first time, and then you might change your process the second time. So there's just so many things involved, so many elements that can go wrong or right with candle making. So I guess next time any of us pick up a candle at the shop, we will sort of think about it a little bit more, rather than just, oh right, yeah, it's a candle and it's fine. So, and especially when you're working with soy waxes, because they can be tricky. You know, soy waxes are a bit different to paraffins. You know, I think they're much more tricky. Now I'm going to just go and double check, because my temperature gauge is on the other side. I use it infrared and I can tell it's still a bit warm. So either way, we need to wait just a minute. So I'm going to let it just sit here, do its thing, although it smells absolutely delish, because this is going to be the watermelon one. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm just going to let it cool down a tiny bit. Then I'm going to bring you back in just a moment. We are back and the wax is perfect. So I did tell you I would teach you a clever way. As we all know, there is that fantastic tool which is actually a pancake mixer. So, and what you can actually do is pop your wax in and pop it in. You can also use something like this, a funnel, and just pop it in the side, and then basically just pour your wax in. So I will actually show you, because my wax is ready. Now, if you can see, this is a bit cloudy. That's what you want for this particular wax. So if you were going to do this, this is all you would do. You would literally pour it in, and no spills at all, my friends. And I know that we all absolutely can't stand all of those spills. But this is just, you know, this is like a little trick of what you can do. There's so many different tricks. This is a cheaper trick, I guess, rather than, you know, obviously using the pancake thing would be great. But if you can't afford one of those, this is the next thing. And as you can see, it was nice and perfect. So I'm going to let this just do its thing. All I do is leave mine on the bench. I'll bring you back when it is ready and looking beautiful. But for now, let's just leave this, and we'll see how gorgeous it's going to come up. And if it's a little bit rough on the top, all we'll do is use the heat gun to make it beautiful. And then after that, we take the photos. So I hope that I've explained it simple, and we will move this back a weeny bit. Look how beautiful that is. And you can already see that our label is starting to look good. And obviously once this wax gets to, you know, nice and beautiful and white, then it will be fine, because this is a clear label that we are using on this one, isn't it? But like I said, look how beautiful that is. So I'm just going to leave it. I will not touch it anymore, because if I touch it, then I will mess something up. But anyway, I hope you have loved this, and I'll bring you back in just a second to show you the end result. Hello amazing people, it is the next day. I decided to leave it for the next day, and here you go. This is what it looks like. Doesn't it look beautiful? So now all we're going to do is take the clip off. One thing I will tell you is I've done this in the past. I've taken the clip off several hours after these have solidified, and can I tell you, it's a big mistake. Don't do that, because what actually happens is the wax is still not hard enough and it kind of moves a little bit. So anyway, that's basically what I do. You can use some scissors or some clippers. I do have the clippers, but I can't be bothered looking for them, so I'm just going to snip that off. And there you go. If you can see how smooth it is, I will go over it because there is like a tiny little dipped line, but really honestly it's good. And if we have a look, there is no wet spots at all, and that just means when your wax shrinks or comes away from the jar. And this is because I've made it in a room that has really good temperature. So you really want your temperature to sit around 23 degrees in the room. I don't heat my jars, as you've seen. I don't do any of that. Basically that's all I do, and you can see it's a pretty good candle. And these are my new beautiful lids. So when somebody gets it, this is what it's going to look like. We'll pop the lid on, so it's going to look like this. And I do have these pink lids, but in time maybe I will go to white. Depends, but I've got lots of pink ones, so I'm going to use hundreds of these up first. But who knows, I may even try and keep them pink. Pink's harder to get, and I think I originally got these from Luxury Candle Supplies, but they don't actually have any more of these ones. I bought the sellout ones, so I literally bought hundreds of them. But anyway, I hope you love the candle we have made today. I hope this has given you some tips and some tricks, of course, that you can do making some beautiful candles. Anyway, I will see you on my next video. Bye friends.